It's the Jennifer Ross and Bill Adams Show on 850 WFTL.
If it fits within the realm of America and consistent with the Constitution, no problem.
So do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
Oh, Dr. Ben. Ooh, tough weekend for the man. And I love Dr. Ben. 877-850-8585, 877-850-8585. Who would have thought we'd come out of this weekend and Dr. Ben Carson would make the most controversial comment, and not Donald Trump, for the first time in, 5 weekends? This is when they make the news cycle. This is when they churn everything up for Meet the Press. And that's what he said. Controversy swirling around Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson after he said he would not support having a Muslim president. Now, it doesn't stop there. He made the remark in NBC's Meet the Press. He added he does not believe the principles of Islam are in line with the U.S. Constitution. You may agree with that. I may agree with that. What a bad move. GOP presidential frontrunner Donald says Carson simply speaking his opinion, something he's entitled to. No doubt about it. That's what Trump has done too. But to do it on Meet the Press, and we'll play the entire meandering statement, and it was a great flat-out question from Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. He did a great job on that. But Ben didn't look good. He just didn't. And I like the man a lot, but that was his real first downfall. It didn't come across as confident, a little bit muddled. What made it worse was the Carson campaign this morning coming out and saying, well, hold on a minute now. He didn't mean that. What he really meant was America's not ready. It's on the American people. They're not ready for a Muslim president. Avoid the question if you have to. Move on. Tell Chuck Todd you're not going to answer the question, but not the way you did it. It didn't work out. We got more on that coming up, as well as I found a group throughout this entire madness, throughout his statement and Meet the Press and what he had to say about it, that made me really open my eyes. And I had never heard of him before until I checked out Fox and Friends, and this was last night. The name of the group is the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. I've been very, very wary of all these, supportive Islam groups, and we just want to be understood. We just want to get our word out there. We want to show them that they were true Americans. Most of them turned out to be frauds. I've checked out this organization front to back, and they are not. We're going to hear from, at about 11:30, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. He was on Fox and Friends, and he flat out has called out these Islamists for what they are. And in fact, this guy is a true patriot, is a former lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy, and he says be very aware of all these Islamist organizations that are trying to put a PR spin on everything. And in fact, he even said Dr. Carson's comments were out of line. He did mean well, but how they came out was completely wrong, and it completely derailed Ben's campaign. He's done after this. He just is. You're not going to see Ben Carson running probably after this week, and that's a shame. He's a good man with good ideals. He got completely spun around during Meet the Press. It was a real shame. We're going to hear from Dr. Jasser at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to be talking about the Pope in New York. 877-850-8585, 877-850-8585. Jen is out today before the break. I feel sorry for the patriotic Muslim hearing that, and I'm getting hammered on the 850 Facebook page because I called it Dr. Ben's political blunder. It is a PR blunder, and I think he had an opportunity here to really separate himself from the pack, really show an understanding, and to show people and remind all of us that not every Muslim is an Islamist. It's not political Islam. There are patriotic Muslims out there, including this guy. Boy, I love what you had to say over the weekend. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, I probably massacred your name already, but I just got to know you. Former Lieutenant Commander in the United States Navy and the president and founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. First of all, thanks for your time on very short notice. I really do appreciate it, Doctor.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been saying this. I've been preaching this, yelling about it since we got on the air at 11 here, that I think he missed an opportunity. I think Dr. Ben Carson's a great guy. I love him. I love that he's not afraid to be politically incorrect. I love that. But I think his message got a little bit mixed up here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and it's so important that we get this right. You know, the sad thing is we're sort of ending 7 years now of a president that's been so heaped in apologetics against for political Islam,
Right.
and that any Muslim, no Muslims could ever be a problem, and that this isn't a ideological problem. It's just a problem of terror. That we haven't been able to have a conversation. So now finally we have some candidates with the ability and the courage to identify the problem, and they're overreaching in many ways. And Dr. Carson overreached in that the problem is not by saying that no Muslim could be president. And then it was sort of odd in that he said, well, a Muslim could be congressman, etc.
Yes.
You know, I was in the military. I don't want Muslims that could be Islamists being on our nuclear subs, having security clearances. We need to have filters for Islamists who believe in jihad for the Islamic State, or I call them Islamo-patriots.
Mm-hmm.
But we also need to recognize that Muslims within the House of Islam that went to the streets against the Brotherhood in Egypt, that are patriotic Americans like my family that came escaping for freedom to America, are going to be the head of the spear in this battle. And there's nothing more American than the battle against theocracy. So it's sort of odd to dismiss all Muslims, almost as if you dismiss Christians who were fighting against theocracy back in the 18th century.
Yes. Thank you for clearing that up. You said it so succinctly. What I've been trying to say, it was odd halfway through the statement where he said, it depends on the individual. And I was with him. Doctor, I was with him. And he said, it depends on the individual and if that person, represents American values. But then he turns it into this blanket statement that has been actually damaging, saying where it's a blanket statement, all wouldn't want a Muslim in general in the White House, and yet he would vote for one for Congress. That's where I think he missed an opportunity to really let people know that there are patriotic Muslims out there, like yourself.
And exactly. And this is such an important issue because if we're going to have a president that has an overarching strategy that will bring us together to identify what is the evil empire of the 21st century, the evil empire is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation.
That's right.
Theocrats from Iran to Assad to Muslim Brotherhood, they all have one common disease, and that is theocracy, in which they want to make an Islamic State based in jihad and based in Sharia law. Muslims reject that by a majority, but a soft majority that's been manipulated by petrodollars, etc. So if we're going to have a president that understands that, you start at home with our Muslims here to say that Muslims that believe in the American experiment, and listen, like Dr. Benjamin Rush, who helped Thomas Paine write the book on why religious tyranny is the worst of all tyrannies in Common Sense. That's, I hope, who a hero of Ben Carson is Dr. Rush, who believed that devout Christians could also be against theocracy.
I've said it for the longest time, Dr. Jasser, that I think a big step in defeating the Islamists and the nutcases out there who would like to destroy this country is to wrap our arms around the patriotic Muslims that are in this country. And if you're proof positive, there are millions of great, hardworking people that believe in American ideals. You're not being represented well.
We're not, because one side of America, the current ones in the White House, think that this is not an ideological problem, it's just a problem of violence. And meanwhile, they're working with it's like having, when they had a White House meeting countering violent extremism, it's like having a meeting about countering drug violence and inviting the meth dealers in as they dealt with the Saudi royalty, the Iranian, and others, and now with this Iran deal. The other side, unfortunately, still has a bit of a strain on the right in which every Muslim is a possible terrorist, etc. Yes, we in the Muslim community have a major problem that we've been avoiding, that we've been silent about. But if you want to get us to deal with it like an alcoholic that has to admit and get past denial, you have to recognize that we also hold the keys to the solution, which is patriotism, belief in our Constitution, and the separation of mosque and state.
No, like we have the separation of church and state represented in that. You're exactly right. I got to tell you, Doctor, I was leery when I first saw your name pop up on Fox and Friends because I wasn't aware of you. My ignorance, I'm sorry. But I saw the name of the organization, the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, and I'm thinking, oh, God, this isn't another Council on Islamic Relations, is it? You are the exact opposite of those guys, and they're giving you a bad image.
Oh, they target us because they're trying to enact blasphemy laws in America by saying me as a devout Orthodox Muslim, I'm somehow listed as one of the top 20 most anti-Muslim people in America. Why? They're threatened by our work because we would put them out of business. They're too busy apologizing and working with the enemies of America, be it through Gulf states and Iranian lobbies and others. They see us not as a solution to reform, but rather as an obstacle to allowing the growth of Islamist movements around the world. So yes, Americans, once we begin to take sides within the House of Islam, you'll slowly see that this isn't a problem within the Islamic experiment, but rather a problem with theocracy, that there are many Muslims that want to fight this. We've just not had an opportunity to have our voices heard.
Well, you haven't had a voice. That's why your work is so strong. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, I appreciate you. I know you're short on time. You got another interview to do. So on short notice, I want to thank you, first of all, for your service to our country as a former lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy and as the founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, standing up for the patriotic Muslims in this country. And if you thought you were right in grouping all of them together, you are absolutely wrong, because you're proof positive of that we need to support the patriotic Muslims. Sir, I'd love to have you on again where we have more time, but I appreciate your time on short notice very much.
Anytime. Our website is aifdemocracy.org, and I'd love to join you anytime. Thanks for having me.
What was the site one more time? Let's get it out there.
AIF as in forum, aifdemocracy.org.
Doctor, thank you for your time very much. I appreciate it.
Take care.
There you go. I'm told that guy changed my opinion. He might change yours too. I'm telling you, 877-850.